Every year on the 1st of February, the country's budget is announced by the country's finance minister. The finance minister has put a tagline for this budget, Viksit Bharat by 2047. And she has also promised that India will become a developed nation by 2047.
Over 70% of Indians are optimistic about India's potential to become a developed country by 2047.
Vision for Viksit Bharat.
कि भारत को 2047 तक आत्मनिर्भर और विकसित राष्ट्र बनाने के सपने को साकार करेंगे
and become a $7 trillion economy too. Hi everybody, let's understand in this video what's in this new budget for you, the common people, and the promises made in the previous budgets as well as the expenses. How much of it was achieved and what were the results? Number one is taxation. It's the big talking point in every budget. Everyone wants to know this. How are tax slabs changing? Well, this time they are not. No change in taxes. Your present income tax slabs remain intact. So if your earning has not been changed, you will be continue paying the same amount of tax.
Tax proposals. As for tax proposals, in keeping with the convention, I do not propose to make any changes relating to taxation and propose to retain the same tax rates for direct and indirect taxes, including import duties.
But another interesting thing to see here is that which taxes generate the most revenue for the government. Budget document shows that FY 2025, the government will earn 19% of its revenue from the tax collected under the income tax. On the second number, GST with 18%. The government will earn 18% of its revenue from the taxes collected under GST, and then comes the corporate tax at 17%. This shows that the biggest contribution to the government's revenue is that of income tax payers and GST payers, and then comes contribution of the corporate tax paid by the companies is lower than these. However, the biggest source of income for the government is still borrowing. Borrowing money is at 28%. Now, similar to the last year, the main focus area of the government in the budget was capital expenditure. CAPEX mainly refers to the money that the government spends on the long-term assets. Large infrastructure projects in the economy like making roads, railways, ports, large-scale buildings or bridges. Last year, the government had already increased this expenditure a lot by 33% and allocated 10 lakhs crore. The government managed to spend 9.5 lakhs crore. This time, it has been increased further by 11.1%. The government plans to spend 11.11 lakhs crore this year.
In the past 4 years, resulting in huge multiplier impact on economic growth and employment creation, the outlay for the next year is being increased by 11.1% to 11,11,111 crore rupees.
The government says that if money is spent on these avenues, then it boosts economic growth and lead to employment creation. People get jobs when such big bridges, roads and ports are built. The finance minister also said that in last 4 years, the capital expenditure has increased by 3 times. For railways, specifically 2.55 lakhs crore have been allocated and 3 new corridors have been announced too. Energy, mineral and cement corridor, port connectivity corridor and high traffic density corridor. The finance minister has also said that more than 40,000 normal rail coaches will be converted to Vande Bharat standards.
Railways. 3 major economic railway corridor programs will be implemented. These are Energy, Mineral and Cement Corridor, number 2, Port Connectivity Corridors, and number 3, High Traffic Density Corridors. The projects have been identified under the PM Gati Shakti for enabling multimodal connectivity. They will improve logistics efficiency and reduce cost.
If we compare this to last year government allocated 2.41 lakhs crore on the railways. Next, the finance minister focused on 4 main sections of the society in the budget: poor people, women, youth and the ones who feed us, the farmers. She said that their welfare is the government's highest priority. Only when they progress will the country progress.
As our Prime Minister firmly believes, we need to focus on 4 major castes. They are Garib, Mahilayeं, Yuva and Annadata.
While announcing this budget, the finance minister said that in the last 10 years, the government has assisted 250 million people to get freedom from multi-dimensional poverty. Multi-dimensional poverty. Now, usually we define poverty on the basis of money. We measured it on the basis of purchasing power, like how much money you earn or spend in a day. But that is just one dimension of poverty. It doesn't capture the full picture. People may feel poor due to variety of empowerment reasons, like when they cannot afford basic necessities like electricity, food or even water. When they are forced to pick an inferior school for their child. When they cannot afford proper treatment because of costs. There are many cases where one emergency can financially ruin a whole family. These are all different versions of poverty. These people may not be poor by the traditional definition, but they all experience poverty. So what the government is trying to do is tracking multi-dimensional poverty. In the agriculture sector, the government has announced Nirbhar Oilseeds Abhiyan and focused on fertilizers like Nano DAP. Now, Nano DAP stands for Nano Diammonium Phosphate, a type of eco-friendly fertilizers with 8% of nitrogen and 16% of phosphorus. This is very useful for green farming. That's why it is being promoted. On the other hand, in the oil seeds initiative, the government has said that they want to cut out the imports from outside the country. They want to cut down edible oil imports from 60% to 30% so that India can become self-reliant in seeds like mustard, groundnut, soybean and sunflower. But the subsidies that are given for fertilizers saw a budget cut. In comparison to the 1.89 lakhs crore from last year, only 1.64 crores has been allocated this year. Food subsidies have also been cut. Last year's budget allocation was 2.12 lakhs crore. This year it has been reduced to 2.05 lakhs crore. Finance Minister made some great announcement targeted specifically at women. Like on the healthcare front, the government is expanding its universal healthcare scheme. Now women healthcare workers at the grassroots will get health insurance. Government is in talks to reduce cost for cervical cancer vaccines. They are also focusing on the financial well-being of women. There was an announcement made to empower local self-help women groups. Their members are known as Lakhpati Didis. They are encouraged to pool their resources and harness their skills to earn a minimum of 1 lakh rupees every month. The government will allocate more money to such groups from $240,000 to $360,000.
अच्छा, आप लखपति दीदी बन गई।
जी सर।
अब मेरा सपना है,
जी सर।
और मैं यहाँ जो बहनें बैठी हैं उनको भी बताना चाहता हूँ।
जी सर।
मेरा संकल्प है कि मैं देश में, गांवों में,
जी सर।
आप जैसे परिवार की जो माताएं बहनें हैं, इस देश में 2 करोड़ माताओं बहनों को मुझे लखपति बनाना है।
After this, we come to housing sector, where the Prime Minister Awas scheme is underway to give affordable housing to the poor. Its allocation has been increased. Instead of 79,590 crores last year, 80,671 crores have been allocated this year. Under this scheme, the government has also said that they will launch a new scheme for the deserving sections of the middle class. Those who live in the rented house slums or unauthorized colonies will be given the opportunity to build and buy their own houses. The government wants to make home buying more affordable. A new scheme is being launched soon. It will focus on the middle class. In addition to this, the government says it will build 20 million houses under a central government scheme, and their construction will take at least 5 years. And a big push is being made to promote solar energy through rooftop solarization, meaning installing solar panels on rooftops. The plan is to identify 1 crore houses for this. They will be given solar panels and 300 units of free power every month. It helps in 3 ways. It will reduce the load on the power grids, it will enable transition to green energy, and eventually it will reduce your electricity bill at the same time. In last year's budget, the government promised to spend 1.16 lakhs crore on education. But according to the revised budget estimates, the government was able to spend only 1.08 lakhs crore. This year, there is a small increase in the education budget. Instead of 1.16 lakhs crore, the government has now allocated 1.25 lakhs crore. On top of that, in the education sector, big budget cuts have been made in many places. For example, the budget allocated to UGC, the University Grants Commission, has been cut by 60%. Last year's revised estimate was 6,409 crores. This year, they were given only 2,500 crore. The budget allocated to IITs and IIMs have also been decreased this year. Instead of 10,384 crores, 10,324 crores for IITs. Instead of 300 crores for IIMs last year, only 212 crores have been allocated this year. But where has this budget increased in education? More money is being spent on central universities. Instead of 11,500 crore last year, 15,000 crores have been allocated this year. The amount spent on research and innovation has been increased. Instead of 210 crore last year, 355 crore has been allocated. Next, we come to the second biggest focus area of this budget, that is reducing the fiscal deficit. The fiscal deficit is the difference between the government's revenue and the expenditure. The amount spent by the government and the revenue it earns, the difference between the two. And since the word deficit is being used here, it means that compared to the revenue of the government, they are spending more than that. For this year, India's fiscal deficit is estimated to be 17.86 lakhs crore. But we usually look at this fiscal deficit as a percentage of GDP. Last year, the government had set a target that it should be 5.9% of GDP this year. And revised estimate shows that not only has the government achieved its target, but they have brought it down to 5.8%. In this year's budget, the fiscal deficit target for 24-25 is set at 5.1% of GDP. This is lower than before, which is a good thing. Since the last few years, the government is slowly reducing it so that it can be brought down to the range. And for the financial year 2026, the target is set at 4.5%. Whatever money the government earns, 1/3 of it is spent on interest servicing. Interest servicing refers to the interest payments of the loan taken by the government. Both domestic and international borrowings are included in this. Whether the government has borrowed money from within the country or outside the country. In total, this year the government will spend 11.9 lakhs crore on interest servicing. This number has been increased by 1.35 lakhs crore in comparison to last year. This was the story of this year's interim budget. We will get to know rest of the details when the full budget is presented in July. Hope you liked the detailed video.